Oh, we came back to Wigtown, or Wigton as I call it,
I never know which is
14 years ago. But prior to that, my dad, when I was living and working in Edinburgh, or in and around Edinburgh as a librarian, my dad had phoned up to tell me that there was a bookshop in Wigton, and to my great shame, I burst out laughing because we went to Dinwiddie's or Blacklock and Farries for books, and in fact there weren't many. Was there a book? There wasn't even a bookshop in Newton Stewart, not that I can remember. You would go to the newsagents and maybe get your annuals at Christmas, and the library was a cupboard in Newton Stewart in those days. Yeah, we got full of Annie S. Swan, I remember. So I was amazed when Dad said that. Curious. I had at that point been working, I don't know, some 20, I've been 32 years in books, so I'd been a good number of years working in books, so I was naturally curious, and I just could not imagine a bookshop in Wigton, let alone Wigtonshire. So we just started to come home, and we'd spend an awful lot of time in Wigton, coming down and going away and wondering, how are they making a living? And wouldn't it be great if we could go back home and open a bookshop?
So what did you think when you first saw the Old Bank as a potential bookshop?
Well, actually, we didn't go in for the Old Bank. We had come home. It was the usual thing. We, with Ian and I, we had come home for Easter weekend, and we were having to rush back up because Ian was working on the Monday and I wasn't. Our holidays never coincided, so we were reluctantly going back up the road, and we were about 12 miles or 20 miles, something like that, from Edinburgh, and Ian just announced out of the blue, I see there's a bookshop for sale in Wigton, do you fancy going for it? And I said, yeah, why not? Not realising at the time that I was pregnant with our daughter. So we blamed the happy hormones because Ian thought I was the sensible one, and I would just say to him, don't be daft. And the next day we put an offer in for another bookshop in a town. That, I have to say, dragged on, and it all changed very suddenly. Ian had 2 weeks to go before he left his job. And we suddenly got the Old Bank. The Old Bank had been on the market. We didn't know about that, but the sale had fallen through, and we jumped in. We were in the right place at the right time, with nowhere to live. And so what do? You put your flat in the market and in Edinburgh, and you move everything right back down to Wigton, and you open a bookshop that's got no shelves and hardly any books.
And was the living space above?
No,
No.
that was separate. So
Right.
we really did the crazy thing.
Yeah.
Really, really crazy. We were so caught up, so it was infectious coming back to Wigtonshire.
Yeah.
And we landed at the time. I remember we came down, and it was the IOB, International Organisation of Book Towns Festival. It was just so magical. It was, this sounds really strange, but it was so European. Both of us had worked abroad, and we just thought, we want to be part of this. We want to come home,
Yeah.
and just be part of this amazing town.
Good.
So yeah, but we had just a wee problem with no books and no bookshelves and nowhere to live.
Just a minor problem.
And-
Surely, yes.
And a baby on the way.
So where did you get your books from originally?
Well, I always remember Angela Everett, who was the original owner of Reading Lassies, coming down and saying to us, her favourite word at the time was fantastic. It's just fantastic. And we were thinking, well, hardly any books on the shelves. But Ian had been going to auctions. You can't fill a space like this, a retail space like this, just going to auctions all the time. Angela said, as soon as you open the doors, people will come with carloads of books, and we just thought, yeah, right, and it's true. We've got to the stage where we're now having to turn people away because we've got so much stock.
Yeah. You mentioned that you were expecting when you were finally made the decision, but so how do you reconcile family life with running a bookshop?
I'll tell you when I retire, which will be never, by the way. Well, do you know, I've never had to phone someone to ask, can I go to the pancake race to raise money for the book festival at nursery. I've never had to justify what we do, which has been really important. It's not easy. We don't have weekends. We're pretty much open 7 days from the end of February right through to the end of November, but it's a really special kind of life. I wouldn't swap it, to be honest. There are the frustrations of, and I'll not hide that, living above the shop, you're drawn back down, it's difficult to leave leave work as such.
Yes.
You're not, when you close the door at night, you don't necessarily leave but it's part of our home.
Yes.
This is our home. So Helena's just grown up in a bookshop, which I think is quite a cool thing to do, I hope.
So in your time in Wigtown, what's been your best memory?
Well, we've always done things kind of the opposite way around. So we left our jobs and had a baby and opened a bookshop. And then 20 years after being together and so many years into running a bookshop, we decided to get married. And of course that had to happen in Wigtown. There was no way we were not going to not get married in Wigtown. And I always remember Anne Barclay in the festival office teasing me about this and saying, the last people who lived in the old bank, I organised their wedding. They've got, you'll get married. No. And the girls in the festival office were just terrific, and decorated the whole building. So inside the county building. So I'll never forget that.
Well, I remember it. Yes, it was good. Yeah. So, can you tell me about any famous customers you've had in your bookshop?
Well, we've had quite a number of famous folk through. For a while we had the children's tent at the back of our garden, so we were always lucky to have some great children's authors pop in. But I do remember, again in the very early days, this is before we had what we call our magic door through to our upstairs, so we were actually having to go out our main door and round and into the bookshop. And it was late one Easter Saturday and this guy came in and Ian and I looked at one another and we thought, we know him. And we were surrounded, I know it's still chaotic in the office, but it was walls of boxes and we were behind these boxes whispering to one another, who is he? And eventually I think Ian said, we've been trying to work out who you are, as he came in, I'm pleased to say, with an armful of books. And all that he said was, I'm on the telly. And he left. And as soon as he left, we went, Black Books, the famous Channel 4 sitcom about a bookseller, about a really grumpy bookseller, and it was Dylan Moran. And he had promised to come back the next day, and we thought, well, we'll never see him again because we've made such a fool of ourselves. And the next morning, I'm going out the front door and he's coming across and we remember Black Books, so we're dead chuffed about that. I'm sure there are people, famous people are always in Wigtown.
Yes, they are, yes. And have you had any really awful customers?
Well, the great public, including ourselves. There can be challenges. Well, there's one thing that I've been feeling really strongly about, and that's the myth about Wigtown booksellers. There seems to be this kind of idea that we all got not only given the property but also given the books, and we've got our snout in some kind of Euro trough or whatever. And that has been annoying. I do remember someone coming in with a bit of an entourage and chatting as if, and I just didn't exist, and saying, of course, we're all just given these books, and you feel like jumping up and saying, no, it's an actual business. And the other hard thing as well, and I think Sean has referred to that in his book that he's just published, Diary of a Bookseller. Plug Sean, you owe me one, is the fact that more and more people are coming up to us and putting the book down and say, you'll take, when you've actually done the research on the book, and especially if it's quite a pricey book, and try and knock us down. And I think that's just the climate of all these bargain hunting programmes on the telly. And you know, when you start to have the conversation with folk, and they actually don't realise that what they see on the internet is not necessarily, especially when they're selling books, is not necessarily what you're going to give them. And it's a bit of a conversation that's been going on all these years. But I still love what I do, and I never, ever thought I would come home to Wigtonshire to co-run a bookshop, ever.
Well, we're very glad you did, Joyce, because you're a huge asset to Wigtown. Thank you very much.
Oh, I'll pay you later, Jenny.